There are many ways to facilitate effective communication. How you use your words, body language, tone of voice, and visual cues determine how you are understood. These are verbal and non-verbal communication skills. Hi dear learners, this is Ernette and welcome to our new lesson in oral communication. In our previous topics, we talked about the nature, elements, and process of communication. We discussed that communication is the act of interacting and exchanging ideas with other people, and in this video we will discuss two primary forms of communication. They are verbal and non-verbal. What is the difference between these two? Imagine you are in a class and one of your classmates is presenting a speech and they use their hands a lot to make a point. What do you focus on? Obviously, you listen carefully to their words to make sure you understand what they are saying, but that isn't all. You probably also pay attention to their body language, including posture, gestures, and facial expressions as they speak. Let's define these two forms of communication. Verbal communication is any communication that uses words to share information with others. These words may be both spoken and written, while nonverbal communication is the process of conveying meaning without the use of words, either written or spoken. Many think that communication is just about the spoken word, but verbal communication is not the only form of communication. Non-verbal communication is equally important. We communicate our thoughts, ideas, and plans to other people through both verbal and non-verbal communication. Verbal and non-verbal communication in humans are the outcome of thousands of years of processing and perfecting the art of communication. Verbal communication consists of getting your message across using sounds, words, and languages, while non-verbal communication involves unsaid things like your eye movement, body language, and tone. Think about situations like a lie is visible in the eye, nervousness can be gauged from shaking hands or legs, and happiness is easily understood from the tone someone uses when speaking. When you are talking to someone face to face, you tend to use verbal and non-verbal communication at the same time. Most people use verbal and non-verbal communication every day of their lives. Think of the last conversation you had with someone. What was spoken aloud and what was conveyed using non-verbal cues? You'll be able to come up with at least one prominent example of verbal and non-verbal communication. Our way of communication has greatly evolved. We now have online classes, group chats, virtual reality, and AI classroom interaction. All these involve both verbal and non-verbal communication. In online classes, for example, we rely on video calls where facial expressions and gestures are all crucial for understanding the speaker's message. In group chats, emojis and text formatting like in bold or italics serve as non-verbal cues to convey tone and emotion. Virtual reality and AI classroom interactions add another layer, allowing us to use avatars and simulated environments to enhance both verbal and non-verbal communication. These advancements highlight the importance of integrating multiple forms of communication to ensure effective understanding and interaction. Both verbal and non-verbal communication can be oral and non-oral. We will discuss the parameters of verbal and non-verbal communication. For the medium of communication, verbal communication uses language, words, sentences, and voice as the medium of communication. For non-verbal communication uses body language, facial expressions, tone, and pauses in speech as the medium of communication. For the channels, verbal communication uses a single channel of communication, the human voice, which speaks a single word at a time. For nonverbal, it uses multiple channels of communication, including your entire body, facial expressions, and tone of voice. For the messaging, verbal is distinct or linear. A key difference between verbal and nonverbal communication is that verbal communication is distinct or linear, while nonverbal communication is continuous or it is constantly in motion and relative to context. Verbal communication is like writing a sentence. Each word has a clear beginning and end, and you put them in a specific order to make sense. For example, when you say the word cat, you start with C, then A, and finish it with T. This linear process helps others understand what you are saying. Continuous communication, which is nonverbal, is like watching a movie. It's always happening and you understand it by looking at the whole picture and the flow of actions. Think about the difference between a digital clock and an analog clock. And verbal communication is a conscious communication. It means that we think about our verbal communication before we communicate. We are being told to think before we speak. This is the fundamental principle of verbal communication. Realistically, it's nearly impossible not to think before we speak. When we speak, we do so consciously and intentionally. For the nonverbal communication, it is unconscious communication. It means that we do not think about every nonverbal message we communicate. For example, when something funny happens, you probably do not think, okay, I'm going to smile and laugh right now. Instead, you react unconsciously, displaying all your emotions through these nonverbal behaviors. Nonverbal communication can occur as an unconscious reactions to situations. Although not all nonverbal communication is unconscious, at times we certainly make conscious choices to use or withhold nonverbal communication to share meaning. To conclude, verbal and nonverbal communication are not contradictory to each other, but they are complementary. In short, both go side by side and helps a human being to interact and respond to other human beings. We must understand the difference between verbal and nonverbal communication in order to converse well. Happy learning!